picks it up and drills it into the back of the net.
Virtue, official partner of Sunderland AFC.
He shoots! Oh! What a hit!
Sport, it's not just a game. It's in your DNA. Like us, you live and breathe every moment. You dissect, navigate, and analyze. At SpreadX, we bring you a world of betting where flexibility and precision are at your fingertips. With real-time analysis across all devices, wherever you are. Enjoy sports betting that's data-driven. Next level action. SpreadX. It's in our DNA.
And there's an opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that? From Chris Ring. Flanagan, 25 yards, lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
Virtue, official partner of Sunderland AFC.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore.
He shoots! Oh! What a hit!
Sport, it's not just a game. It's in your DNA. Like us, you live and breathe every moment. You dissect, navigate, and analyze. At SpreadX, we bring you a world of betting where flexibility and precision are at your fingertips. With real-time analysis across all devices, wherever you are. Enjoy sports betting that's data-driven. Next level action. SpreadX, it's in our DNA.
There's an opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that? From Chris Ring.
Bellingham, 25 yards, lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
Virtue, official partner of Sunderland AFC.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore. Stays down, that's ball!
He shoots!
What a hit!
Sport, it's not just a game. It's in your DNA. Like us, you live and breathe every moment. You dissect, navigate, and analyze. At SpreadX, we bring you a world of betting where flexibility and precision are at your fingertips. With real-time analysis across all devices, wherever you are. Enjoy sports betting that's data-driven. Next level action. SpreadX. It's in our DNA.
And there's an opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that? From Chris Rigg.
Bellingham, 25 yards, lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
Virtue, official partner of Sunderland AFC.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SAFC Live. We're back here in Quinn's Sports Bar, back here at the Stadium of Light. The lads are on the road once again, this time down at Carrow Road for 7:45. Kick-off alongside me, as ever, is Danny Collins. Danny, the games are coming thick and fast at the business end of the season. Yeah. And Sunderland will want to get another win on the road.
They will indeed, yeah. And looking forward to another 1-0 win from a free kick or a set piece. Seems to be the trend at the minute with Trey Hume getting on the end of things. But no, I think it'll be a difficult one. I know Norwich last sort of few weeks really have dipped, lost 3 of the last 4. But I think you look at the top end of the pitch where second top scorers, obviously the opposite end of the pitch is where they're struggling at this moment in time. But on their day they can cause you problems, so it's not going to be an easy one. From our point of view, we've had to graft in the last couple of games to get the results and get over the line, but credit to the boys, a couple of clean sheets as well.
Changes in the starting 11 for both sides. So we'll start with Sunderland. This is the all-important team news as we broadcast around the world here on SAFC Live. That man in the background there, Leo Hjelde, gets a start. He's not the only one either.
No, there's 4 changes this evening for Regis. Obviously a couple have been forced upon him. I think Job picked up a little knock at the weekend. He's not involved at all, is he? As is Romain Mundle. Obviously we knew that one with his hamstring. So Tommy Watson comes in. That left-hand side is where all the changes are really, and Milan Alexic getting an opportunity finally from the start. He's been after for a while now. Leo Hjelde, as you say, come on at the weekend and contributed to the clean sheet. And then Elijah Mienda returned to top end of the pitch. So yeah, 4 changes. 2 of the lads dropping down to the bench. Patrick Robertson and Wilson Isidore, the other 2 not involved.
Let's just watch some of the pictures of the lads warming up down there at Carrow Road and maybe discuss, well, it was obviously Regis was forced into a couple of those changes, but are we starting to see some squad rotation as we move into the possible playoff campaign?
It's hard to say because obviously it's been forced upon him in a way really, hasn't it? I think top end of the pitch you can look at Isidore and Mienda, and that's sort of been the case really in the last few weeks where they have tended to rotate those 2, and you know Mienda would have been frustrated, but come on at the weekend within a minute or so he's playing a big part in us getting the 3 points with winning the free kick. I looked at it. I think with 6 games to go, I think we can afford now to not say rest a couple of who are looking maybe a little bit leggy or weary, just to freshen them up and give all the lads an opportunity. Prime example, as I said, is Alexic for me. I've been saying for a few weeks I'd give him a little bit game time. I think he got 2 minutes at the weekend at the Hawthorns, but he gets an opportunity tonight from the start, as does Tommy Watson coming in. So obviously a big night for Tommy as well after what's happened in the last week or so. But you go out there and you pull on that red and white shirt and you've got to try and put it your all in for the club.
Watching some pictures there of Trey Hume, as we understand it, he's got a bit of a niggle, but try keeping him out of this start 11 at the moment.
Yeah, we said it at the weekend. He's proper old school, isn't he? The way he plays, and I can imagine there. Yeah, listen, if he's got a bit of a knock, I know he come back early from Northern Ireland a week or so ago, but scored a couple of goals. He'll be asking for the number 9 shirt next season, I think, the way he's going. But no, fantastic. I love watching him play. I've heard people saying he's almost a leader type, but he looks quite quiet on the pitch. Actually, he just pulls on the shirt, as I said, goes over that white line and just gets on with his business. Takes no prisoners, loves a challenge, gets forward well, decent delivery. I think he's got 6 or 7 assists this season, 3 goals to his name, and no, he's been fantastic. A good signing. Well,
that's my ender there in the shot as well there, Danny. He didn't have to do much at the weekend. Well, he didn't have time to do very much at all, but he did make a difference when he came on.
Exactly that, as I say, with him coming on, was it 10-15 seconds, free kick, wasn't it, where he goes past his man, brought down edge of the box, and Trey does the rest. Keeper wasn't great, we'll have a look at the highlights in a moment, but it always has those moments in the game, whether he starts the game, whether he comes on for 10-15 minutes, he always has an impact, and it's frustrating for him because he's coming off the bench and he'll want to be starting, but more often than not, as we say, we only start with one striker. He gets opportunities at the weekend. He come on the left-hand side where he won't want to play. If anything, he'll want to start on the right-hand side if he does, to come in as most sort of wingers and strikers do now. They want to come off the flank where it opens up for him to get the shot away. But he won't argue. Listen, he's in the starting lineup. He's in his favoured position this evening. Let's see how he goes.
Let's have a look back at the highlights then from Sunderland's last outing at the weekend. Of course, that was the trip down to the Hawthorns. 1-0 victory on the road. And it was a cagey game at times, wasn't it? It lacked a real tempo. Both teams maybe respectful of each other too much?
Possibly, yeah. I think, going down to there, you expect Tony's sides, the way we know that they can play open, expansive football. They had a lot of ball on this side, like Mikey Johnston, he had a lot of it. His end product wasn't quite there. You could see he was frustrated at times. Prime example there, but he's seen a lot of the ball and linking up down this left-hand side. And they had some good openings, but credit to our boys. That's the one thing I'd say, where if you're not flowing at the opposite end of the pitch in the attacking third, you've got to make sure you knuckle down and do your defensive job well. And centre-backs were outstanding. And obviously other lads contributing, and Job getting back in at time and time again. He makes a great block here, doesn't he? They're about to pull the trigger. Great challenge, getting the ball, and we had to do that.
A lot of that went on.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it wasn't a classic, as you say. And from our point of view, I've said it there at this stage of the season now, where we flipped from where we were 2 months ago, where it's more about performance for me now than results. Tonight for me at Norwich tonight, I want to see us playing a little bit more on the front foot, a little bit more energy. And if we get beat, I'd say, do you know what? Yes, we've lost the game, but I like the way we played this evening. Whereas this game here, and certain fans will say, listen, you were 1-0 on the road, Rob sat 10 yards away from us, he'll love a 1-0, I get that, but I want to see more from us, because the second half, we're lucky if we had 4 or 5 minutes of possession in their half. I know we had 2 good opportunities with Wilson on the counter, but we give it away too cheap. I think the manager touched upon it after the game in his post-match, where you keep on turning the ball over, it's a long old afternoon, and we will get punished against the better opposition.
Yeah, having said that though, we kept the chances at bay. That's the big opportunity and the big decision, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, just think, Dan Garner, isn't it? He feels he's fouled. I'm not sure he does. He goes down a little bit easy, doesn't he? Just too strong, and he's too powerful when he gets going over 5 yards. And then from Trey, people say, is he shooting? I think he's trying to put it into an area. He's taught really from these sort of wide free kicks, whip it into that far post area. So if it misses everyone, it goes in. Well, it misses everyone, but the keeper makes an absolute mess of it, doesn't he? Let's be honest. Wildsmith, he tries to punch it, just grazes the top of his glove, and but fantastic from Trey's point of view, as I say there. Stepped up last week against Millwall with a decent volley from the corner. And it's a bit quieter in here this evening. The fans aren't in tonight, but he's been fantastic, and that's the difference. That's all it takes, and then it's down to the boys to keep the ball at the back of the net. And for all the possession they had, how many saves did Anthony Patterson have to make?
And if anyone it was going to do, it was that Mikey Johnson, wasn't it? Who faded in the game, didn't he?
Yeah, he went off as well later on, didn't he? People say it's tough for Alan Brown, and the spotlight is more on him. I mean, I go back to my time. I played with Dean Whitehead, who was a centre midfielder. then gets asked to go and do a job at right back, and that's what's happening with Alan at the minute. I thought he was decent last week against Millwall. He had tough times, but it doesn't matter if you're a natural fullback or a centre midfielder being asked to play there. If you've got a natural winger who's picking the ball up 10 yards away and driving at you, it's difficult, believe me. I've been in that position, so he done well enough. Obviously, Alan come off later on. And, you know, he's been part of a back four in the last 2 games. We've had back-to-back clean sheets, so yeah, he's gone in there and he's done his job.
Yeah, and now he finds himself back in the midfield.
Back in midfield this evening, yeah, so he's getting shifted around, and he'll be happy to get back in there. Of course, that's his natural position when he's played for how many seasons in the Championship. So yeah, he's gone in there, he's done his job. Like there, he does well there. See, he's not naturally a fullback, but he's switched on. He gets back in, he takes a whack for his troubles there, but no, he gets back in goal side. It's not a penalty, it's mow it, isn't it? Goes down looking for it. But yeah, this problem we've got at the minute where we've got that many going into the treatment room, it's a little bit sort of square pegs where Trey's been filling at left back.
Do you expect Trey to stay on the left?
No, he's back at right back tonight, isn't he, with Thielder coming in, so naturally left-footed on that left-hand side. So yeah, you're sort of getting back to normal at the back really, and it'll be a difficult one for Trey tonight up against Borja Sands, top scorer in the league, a tricky customer, so that'll be an interesting battle, that one, down Norwich's left-hand side. And then middle of the park, as you say, you've got Neil, you've got Brown going back in there, and Alexic. This one now, I've heard a few people. I still don't think there's enough in that for a penalty. I've got to be honest. Listen, yes, he puts his arm.
To get the yellow as well.
But he brushes him with his arm at best. And I think Mienda goes down. The old legs go apart, and he goes down looking for it. It's not a penalty. Not enough contact in it. But they had a lot of these situations, especially in the second half where we got pegged into our defensive third. But look at the bodies back there, and as I said, Luke O'Nien. Chris Mepham, the other lads in and around it as well, throwing their bodies in. Job, getting blocks in and earning that clean sheet. Opportunity
here for Wilson Isidore. He doesn't really take it as well as we know he can.
You can see what he's looking for, getting his body around it, and he wants to, I think if anything, he's going to look to try and bend it into that far corner, but he just doesn't get his body around it enough in time and almost runs out of steam, I think, as well. And difficult one for Wilson, again, chasing the ball a lot of times between the centre-backs, and then by the time he's asked to get on one of his galloping runs and doing a little bit in possession, he's perhaps run out of steam, and we'll get onto his other opportunity in a minute where he gets the shot away, and then I think that was his last involvement for Alexic to come on for the last couple. But yeah, Anthony Patterson, how many saves did he have to make? Well, this one really, and it's a comfortable one, isn't it, really? It's a loopy header, gets across his line and palms it away. He had a comfortable afternoon, to be fair, and obviously helped by the boys in front of him.
Yeah, just looking the last few chances. DK came on late, didn't he? Bit of a handful.
Yeah, I think just his timing on that one, he maybe just gets ahead of the ball slightly and has to try and fish it from just behind him a little bit. But yeah, Tony made changes, and this is that one now where he's had to try and work his way in. But by the time, he's just past the 6-yard box, keepers out to narrow the angle down, and you see now he's absolutely blowing there. That was him done for the afternoon, so he's got his rest this evening. And Mienda, yes, he come on at the weekend, but see how he gets on top end of the pitch. Yeah,
Danny alluded to it there. Let's give you a quick look at the Sunderland team before we hit the first ad break here on SAFC Live. Remember, you can still buy your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com. Broadcasting around the world and in the UK this evening. Join us for the full journey. Get your matchday streaming passes. 4 changes, Danny, and Mienda gets through the middle.
Yeah, it's working it from the back. Obviously, the changes at the back there. Trey going back to his natural position on the right, as we said. Thielder coming in on the left-hand side for a little bit of balance with his left foot. Dan Neil, as he was. Alexic coming in. I think he'll play more left side, and Alan Brown on the right, where he tends to when he's played in midfield. He'll be happy getting back in there, as we said. Chris Rigg, obviously, then moving over to that right-hand side, as he did in the latter stages at the weekend. Tommy Watson comes back in on the left, and Mienda top end of the pitch. So you're looking at it for me, energy in there. Alexic, he's a good ball carrier for me. I like him. He can run. Alan Brown can make the box when he gets the opportunity.
Is Alan Brown the ideal midfielder for an opposition like Norwich?
As in
a bit of experience in there, a bit of steel in the middle, because it's going to be hectic for the midfield not to get overrun, because they have got goals in them, Norwich, and they're going to come thick and fast at Sunderland.
He'll be the one that bounces between, really, sort of getting in there alongside Dan Neil, and then, as I said there, he can go and make the box. He's got good engine on him, Alan. I know he's early 30s now, isn't he? But as you say, it gives you that little bit of experience. Played numerous games in the centre of the park for Preston. Then you've got Alexic coming in, who's been chomping at the bit to get an opportunity. You've got fresh legs on the left-hand side. Mienda can run. Shane Duffy and Cordoba, I expect them to be in for a tough evening. And then, as I say, Chris Rigg on that right-hand side as well. So you've got young legs, top end of the pitch, with a little bit of experience with Alan just in there as well.
Absolutely. OK, then we'll go to our first ad break, and then we'll be back with our friend and club historian, Rob Mason, very soon. Welcome back to SAFC Live. There's conversation happening around us here in the studio, and that's because our friend, club historian Rob Mason has joined us. Rob, welcome to the programme.
Yeah, good evening. Nice to see you both.
Yes, Sunderland made some changes. Let's have a look at the changes for Sunderland to show yourself, Rob, and of course the people watching around the world as well. And just a reminder, it's International Fans Day at the weekend, so we'd love to know where you're watching from around the world this week. Use the hashtag AskDanny. Rob, your thoughts on the changes?
Yeah, it's a side I'm happy with. I've been of the opinion for 2 or 3 games now that we should be taking the opportunity to rest people for a game or two, make sure, hopefully, injuries allowing, that we're full strength for the last 2 or 3 games of the regular season before we go to the playoffs. There's lads there like Alexic who's been itching for a chance, Yelda itching for a chance. It's nice to see Brown getting an opportunity in midfield, and I'm happy to see some of the lads getting actually a little bit of a rest. So it's a game that does matter to us. It is important. We've had 2 really good, solid 1-0 wins. Be lovely to keep that run going. I heard what Danny was saying earlier about wanting a performance, not a result. Me being greedy, I want both. And I understand, I completely get where Danny's coming from, that we do need to sort of show some of our fluency and cohesion at this particular time of the season. But on the other hand, I'd still go for the win, Danny. or even a draw, simply to keep the momentum and get into the habit of not losing. It's a habit I'd like to have as we go into the playoffs, which we surely will. And as you've no doubt explained or will explain, it can become mathematically certain tonight if we get the right result.
Yeah, if we just look at the lads warming up as well, we can continue our discussion. We see some of the Norwich players, and we'll look at their side in a minute. But also try and stack these clean sheets up as well, Rob, and it's good to get clean sheets back to back as well.
Absolutely, and the point's been made that apart from that save for the cameraman that Pato made late on, and I thought it was a good save, but yes, Danny as a centre half would be rightly disappointed if the goalkeeper let that one in.
Well, I've seen theirs, so
well, exactly.
Trey's effort,
their goalkeeper made a right holics of our particular shot, and if Norwich's goalkeeper wants to do the same tonight, or any other goalkeepers want to contribute any gifts, they'll be happily received. But yeah, we do want to get clean sheets, and the point I was trying to make was that the defence have done very, very well at protecting the goalkeeper, and regardless of what the so-called possession stats are at the end of the game. And we quite often see teams have a lot more possession than us, but even in those games, clear-cut chances created against us tend to be few and far between, and that's to the credit of the defenders. And I thought the centre-halves in particular were excellent on Saturday, and hopefully they can continue to keep that up.
Jack Wiltshire there, one of the coaches at Norwich at the moment. But they bring goals, Danny, don't they, Norwich City? Despite their position in the league, they have got some serious firepower in the likes of Josh Sargent and also Borja Sands as well.
Yeah, they have, They've got 31 between the two of them. Just having a look earlier on, they've almost scored the same amount as Luton, who were the lowest scorers on 36. So, they're obviously flying. Then you look at that, 62 goals, second top scorers. That obviously shows what the problem is. It's the other end of the pitch. Where they've been shipping the goals.
Should we throw up the Norwich side as you explained?
Yeah, I'm looking at we'll get it up. As I said, they've made 3 changes as well this evening. So he's trying to get them going. Disappointing result for them. As I say, they lost 3 of the last 4. They lost to Plymouth at the weekend. Rock bottom Plymouth there, who keep on fighting away. We keep saying that they've gone, but they keep giving themselves a shot. But it looks like it's getting away from Norwich in terms of getting to the playoffs. There's, for me, too many teams just in above them playing well and getting results. Bristol City, obviously Middlesbrough have come good. And Coventry have been on a great run.
Spicy fixtures tonight.
Yeah, there are. Well. But as you said, those 2 in particular, really, they've made 3 changes. Slimani, I think, scored against us here at the Stadium Light. He comes in this evening. Jacob right in the middle of the park as well. I think Kenny McLean's going to move out to left back, with Stacey dropping down to the bench and Fisher, young lad, back across to the right hand side. So it'll be a tough game. We're not blowing teams away, let's be honest. We've had to graft, as we said in the last couple, and set pieces have decided the games. I think it'll be a tight game this evening. I've heard a few Norwich fans who are obviously grumbling. They expect, I think, Norwich, like a lot of teams, to be in and around the playoffs. It's not quite happening for them. Sat down in 11th as we stand. Still a few games to go if they can get on a run.
They've had a very poor season. One of my best friends at other clubs is my counterpart at Norwich City. Has been for 40 or more years. A guy called Peter Rogers, and talking to Peter, as I've done extensively this week, he tells me most Norwich fans have pretty much completely given up on how well they've done this season compared to how well they expected to do, and that's despite the fact, as you say, they've got a front. I know Josh Sargent has missed a lot of the season with injury. Signs obviously missed a good chunk through suspension over a retrospective incident that had happened at the Stadium of Light.
5 game ban, wasn't it?
5 or even 6. I'm not sure. Certainly a long one. But despite they've got that firepower, as you say, they've scored a lot of goals, but they're also, very generous at the other end, and hopefully will be this afternoon. I think this evening, rather.
The problem with that, again, I've seen them a few times on Sky. Bristol City a few weeks ago. Bristol City were excellent pressing them. It was at Ashton Gate, trying to play out from the back. A lot of teams try it now. Obviously, it looks great when it comes off, but they got caught 2 or 3 times in that game. Got punished as well by Bristol City. So that, to me, shows obviously the problems. A lot of teams want to do it now, but if you've got 1 or 2 players who aren't quite comfortable, I could see Shane Duffy that night was having a bit of a tear up with his keeper in behind him. They were having an argument. I think they're similar at the Stadium of Light. So obviously it depends when you get a manager that comes in, Thurrock, that's come in there and he wants them to play that. Obviously you've got to buy into it as a player. But sometimes if you haven't maybe got the squad who are quite happy to do that, then...
And it'll be interesting to see our approach to that tonight, Danny, as well, because there's some games this season where Sunderland have clearly gone out with the idea that they're going to try and win that ball in the final third. And other times, think Middlesbrough at home, for instance, they've made sure they've sat back, let teams have it in their own final third and not be outnumbered in the centre of the park.
Similar to Saturday for me. I don't think we really got after West Brom.
But we've got a very youthful wonderful front three there, who should have plenty of legs in them, particularly Mayenda and Watson, who've not played that much. I appreciate Watson's coming back from his injury. But hopefully those three lads
Mayenda's got to fancy himself running at Shane Duffy.
Yeah, hopefully those three lads can really get at Norwich and force them to make mistakes themselves. And yes, Mayenda's, showed he's got capability of scoring in front of goal, and hopefully he can try and nail down that position himself, because there's got to be a bit of competition there between him and Wilson Isidore, who's going to become our first choice striker. And if Mayenda can get a couple of goals here and another couple of goals there, it's harder and harder, as he did against the 2 games against Sheff White, for instance. It's going to be harder and harder for Wilson to say, I'm the main striker, which in my opinion he is. I like Wilson Isidore, but I do also like Mayenda, and they've both got everything to play for.
Can I ask you this question, Rob? There's some crucial fixtures in and around Sunderland tonight. If they were to go Sunderland's way, and the games are still remaining, and of course Leeds United have this mentality thing which often kicks in about this time of year, we're seeing that come to fruition. Not an easy game tonight for them against Middlesbrough. Burnley are playing tonight against Derby, Derby are going good guns under John Eustace at the other end of the
Bristol City, West Brom just below. I know that's more pushing, but there's some good interesting games.
I mean, mathematically, it's still on.
Look, mathematically, it's still on. Realistically, we need 2 of the 3 teams above us to slip up. Yes, Leeds are on a slippy run at the moment, considering they've only taken, 6 points out of 5 games or whatever, which is not promotion form at this stage of the season. But even if we can catch Leeds, we've got to catch one of Sheffield United and Burnley as well. And with the games running out, that's an incredibly tough ask. So I think everybody with a realistic head on watching this tonight will know that if I say, we can still aim for the top 2, they'll just think, well, what's Rob been drinking? The bar behind is meant to be closed. But you never give up. I mean, Danny's just talked about Plymouth look like they've gone, but they haven't given up.
Keep fighting.
They're still fighting. We should still be fighting. All we can do, look, we can't affect the results of all those other games you're talking about. But if other teams were to slip up, I keep saying this, if other teams were to slip up, we've got to make sure we've put ourselves in a position where we can take advantage. And if we do our best and we still get good results towards the end of the season, and it's not good enough, at least it means we then go into the playoffs with some momentum towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and as you say as well, the big carrot for the lads down there tonight is if we are successful this evening, playoffs are guaranteed. Does that, Danny, change the mentality in the dressing room at all if you are guaranteed from this far out that you've got the playoffs? Or does it give the manager and the coaches perhaps chances to rotate and try different things? Or is it what Rob was saying, it's all about that momentum?
Yeah, listen, I think we're there realistically, let's be honest. I think, it's not officially there as such, but without even Sunderland couldn't drop out of the playoffs from this position, let's be honest, I don't think. So, no, it's there, but I still think, after tonight, 5 games left, if 1 or 2 are feeling a bit leggy or have got a knock, maybe take them out, give some of the other lads, Harrison Jones, maybe 1 or 2 an opportunity in the first team. There's a lot of young boys been in and around the squad this season who've been knocking on the door and trying to get 20-30 minutes here and there, so give them a little opportunity, and then maybe with say 2 or 3 games to go, then you focus back on it, get everybody who's fit there, what you're looking realistically for your team in the playoffs to get them out there. Enzo Lefebvre as well. When do you bring him back in?
I was about to say, somebody we've not really talked about very much yet is Enzo Lefebvre, who's on the bench. And obviously they're handling him carefully because he's coming back from an injury. But he's the man, or one of the men, you really want to be 100% fit. Back in the fold, ready to play the last 2 or 3 games of the season, as you go 2 or 3 league games of the season, as you go into the playoffs, because whoever we face in the playoffs, they are going to be scared of Enzo Lefebvre. And obviously, Regis knows him better than anybody. He's handling him very, very carefully. He hopefully will come off the bench tonight and continue his rehabilitation as he comes back from long-term injury. I thought he might start tonight.
Did you?
I thought he might start tonight, but I don't know his real level of fitness.
Yeah.
It was possibly more hopeful, wishful thinking on my behalf that he was going to play tonight from the beginning. But they're obviously handling him carefully. But if you think, I looked at that side there as you were flashing up on screen.
Let's show it again for the people joining us around the world, the Sunderland side.
And I thought, everybody's got their own opinions. But I thought of that 11, if everybody was fit, in my opinion, there's about 6 of them that would be in my first choice team. Okay. Enzo Lefebvre would be probably pretty much the first name on the team sheet for me if everybody was fully fit. Now, some of the people you might want between now and the end of the season are probably not going to be fit, e.g. Romain Mundle. We can forget about that. But the players that we do want to try and get back to make sure that when we go into the playoffs, we're as strong as possible. The fair heads that particular list for me. And with regard to the lads who are in the side tonight, who are not normally in the side, well, it's their great opportunity. The likes of Alexic, Brown, Hjelde, Tommy.
Yeah. We've never lost a game with Leo Hjelde on the pitch.
Well, I'm delighted to say it because he's got the same first name as my grandson.
Oh, well, that's excellent.
I'm always pleased to see Leo in the team. But for those lads who are itching for a chance, it's their opportunity tonight to say, you know what? Even when other people are fit, I'm stopping in this team because I've earned this shirt. So that means we're going to get a bit extra out of those players, and that's the sort of competition for places that Danny, with his coaching head on, wants to see with every team at every level.
Yeah, and I'd say I know a bit of an elephant in the room if we're honest, but Tommy, I know what's happened last week, and he's moving on in the summer, but big opportunity for him. He'll want to be out there playing. Me personally, yes, you've got your move and it's happening in the summer, but there's a lot of football to be played between now and then, and for him, he's been at this club since 7, 8 year old.
Absolutely.
He'll want to sign off with a promotion. Why not? Yeah. Of course he can. And I know there's 1 or 2 fans who aren't happy. I get all that, and but his main focus now. He's quite a quiet lad, Tommy. He'll want to get on with his football, and it's a big opportunity for him now between now and the end of the season.
Everybody's different, Danny.
Yep.
If you were in that position,
yep.
I know you as a character, you would not be found wanting in terms of commitment,
no.
Even if you were about to move to another club at the summer. I think, and you know Tommy better than me, but I think Tommy's also in that category.
Yep.
There are some other players that we've had in the past who were in that position you would think, I don't want you anywhere near, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm more than happy to see Tommy Watson playing. Look, he's a good player. He's a player of Premier League team think is worth signing.
Yeah.
So why not play him?
And he was building, wasn't he, before his injury? A couple of goals against Stoke. Sheffield United away, he was excellent, won the penalty.
He was superb.
So he was starting to get there, wasn't he?
I thought that was his coming of age. He'd had quite a few games for the first team.
Yep.
I'd seen a lot of them for the under-18s and to some extent the under-21s in recent years. Knew he was a brilliant player coming through. But at Bramall Lane at the end of November,
that was more of one of those performances from the 21s, wasn't it?
That was the first one in the first team where you thought, go on, Tommy, that's what I've seen you do at the Academy of Light, that's what I've seen you do at Appleton. And Sheffield United were absolutely terrified of him.
Yeah,
but that's getting an opportunity then from the manager, isn't it? Because young lads, I don't care who you are, you've done well for the 18s, 21s, then it's that step up, training with the first team, then maybe getting 10, 15 minutes, but then getting your start and then showing that you've earned your stripes.
Not forgetting it was him that won the penalty that night. Yeah, obviously the goalkeeper saved.
We're not talking about penalties.
Sorry,
yet,
well, okay.
We'll come on to that if we come on to it this evening. Rob, last couple of minutes before we hit the next ad break and go into our commentary positions. The Friendly Cup is what's talked about between these two sides. A bit of historical context, please.
Well, yes, we want a bigger prize than the Friendly Cup this year, but nonetheless, whenever we play Norwich, the Friendly Cup is still up for grabs.
Yep.
I took it out of the cabinets here at the Stadium of Light yesterday and sent it off with our media department.
The white gloves on.
With the white gloves on, not quite.
Polish up. The brass
and
up.
told them to make sure they bring it back for me.
Yes.
But yeah, it stems, of course, from the 1985 League Cup final, the Mill Cup final. It was an era when football hooliganism was given the game a bad name, and contrary to everything that was happening at the time in terms of hooliganism, in contrast, the Norwich Sunderland final at Norwich won 1-0. Was played in the friendliest of atmospheres. After the game, Sunderland supporters were congratulating the Norwich fans. There was a lot of scarf swapping, a lot of handshakes. Complete contrast to all the idiocy that was going on around football at the time. And whenever anybody asks me about the Friendly Cup and the 85 League Cup final, I always have to say in fairness that 7 years later when we played Norwich at Hillsborough in the FA Cup semi-final, and that time it was Sunderland's turn to win 1-0, the Norwich fans were equally as gracious. So this cup really commemorates that bond, if you like, between the fans. Now look, nobody's kidding themselves. In the 90 minutes of the game, the fans will be taking the mickey out of each other, shall we say. There'll be no friendliness in there. But before the game and after the game, I'm pleased to say there's always a really good atmosphere between Sunderland and Norwich fans, or that it was the same atmosphere with every team that we play, because as we know, that isn't the case with some teams.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, thanks for your
cheers,
time.
Gentlemen.
Enjoy the game. And you can also enjoy the game with us here on SAFC Live. Get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com. We'll see you soon.
Sport, it's not just a game. It's in your DNA. Like us, you live and breathe every moment. You dissect, navigate, and analyze. At SpreadX, we bring you a world of betting where flexibility and precision are at your fingertips. With real-time analysis across all devices, wherever you are. Enjoy sports betting that's data-driven. Next level action. SpreadX. It's in our DNA.
And there's an opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? How cool